right.
Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to Conversations, Cocktails, and Connections. I'm Amy Hester.
And I am Emily Reeves.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. It's Sunday. It's afternoon. I'm kind of, relaxed from the weekend, so I'm feeling pretty good. How about you?
Ready for a cocktail?
Well, let's make one.
What are we making today? What are you making today?
Well, we are going to make and partake in a bee's knees, but it's a variation. It's going to be called a Woodsy bee's knees in honor of our guest today.
Yes. So today we're having Trey Reid. I'm so excited because I personally know Trey, and I am excited. He works for the Arkansas Game and Fish, and I can't wait to hear about fishing and hunting and all the things that I don't do at all. I do love to fish though.
Yeah, I do too. I like to fish too.
So
that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I think Matthew actually knows him as
Does
well.
he? Okay.
Yeah,
he's a great guy. So let's
So,
start
do it.
it.
Let's
The
do the-
Woodsy. So what makes it the Woodsy? Is it do you think it's the rosemary?
So yeah, it's the rosemary because the bee's knees is just gin and lemon juice, and that's it. Like it's
Okay.
like super easy. And so this is, and maybe there's simple syrup as well. So this has a rosemary infused honey simple syrup that I made this morning.
That's
so I'm really
amazing.
excited about it. And then, of course, when I went to go get our gin out of the cabinet, we have two kinds of gin, and both of them are low. So, and it's Sunday, of course. So we might be making one cocktail with one kind of gin and another. Like one of us will be drinking London or Bombay, and the other will be drinking aviation.
Okay.
But we're going to play it by ear.
Yeah.
So, what I'll do in that, because of that, I'll make one at a time.
Okay.
Unless I can't really tell.
We'll just see.
So the, all right. So I'm gonna start with one. So it has 2.5 ounces of gin.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put in our 2.
It's really interesting the difference in gin tasting.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what it is that goes into making gin, do you?
It's juniper berries.
Okay.
And I don't know what else, but that. So see, I might be able to make 2
Yeah.
from that. Let's see. So that was 2.5.
I mean,
So
if
let's
we
see.
made 2 cocktails each, one with each, we could have a taste test.
So we're pretty close.
Yeah, that's good.
We're
I
pretty
think
close.
it's good.
That might be just tad under what the measurements call for. But hey,
It's okay.
we
Considering last time we drank
Finish
ourselves
the
to
bottle?
oblivion, we should maybe...
yeah, for sure. Okay, so then it is 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put in 2 ounces of that since
Okay.
we're doubling.
Who would have thought, doing this, the amount of lemon juice are in cocktails?
I know. And then it's 3/4 ounce rosemary infused honey simple syrup. So
Is
that's
that
what this
hard to make?
No, it was really easy.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 1/4 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of water, and 2 sprigs of rosemary. You put it in the microwave for 1 minute, then you let it steep for 30 minutes, and then you remove the rosemary.
Huh.
So it was pretty simple. So I need to put in, so 3/4, so 1.5. So this is easier for me to measure if I do it on this side. So 1.5.
I love rosemary.
I do too.
And it smells so good when I walked in here today.
Okay, then it is, okay, so then we just shake it up with some ice. So I'll put a couple of the cubes in there
Refresher.
and shake it up. And then
Awesome.
we're gonna pour it in our glasses, which I chilled, but now I got them out and they're not chilled anymore.
Okay, it doesn't take that long for them to kind of...
Yeah,
Subside.
they're chill.
Yeah.
And then we're going to top it with a sprig of rosemary and lemon zest. So I'm going to put you in charge of that.
Okay. So the rosemary, I love the fact that it's like the woodsy and you have the green. I think that's really cute.
I picked the rosemary from the cocktail plant that you gave me.
Which we totally
Ooh.
I named it the cocktail plant.
I know, we
it
made that up. It's great.
it's just not just FYI. If you ever want to make a cocktail plant, it's rosemary, mint, and did I just do rosemary and mint?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can always add any herb to it.
Okay, so
Okay.
we need to do lemon
Let's
zest
do
and rosemary.
rosemary.
And then,
Pretty. This would be a pretty like Christmas cocktail too with the
Well, and it says there. Well, different recipe, not this recipe, but a different recipe for the bee's knees says that you can serve it warm, like as a kind of hot drink, and so that should be interesting.
So I'm gonna let you do this since I'm sitting. And
oh yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I will be super tall and out of frame if I stand.
That is true. Because we framed for
sitting.
For sitting.
You know, I put lipstick on.
There we go.
I put lipstick on. I'm gonna say for this, and since I haven't been wearing it, I feel like a clown, and I'm gonna have to start wearing it under my mask. I don't care if it gets all over my face because I'm not gonna get used to not wearing lipstick. So cheers. Here's to our guest, the Woodsy and Conversations Cocktails.
Woodsy Bee's Knees.
Woodsy Bee's Knees. Oh my God, that's delish.
That's really good.
I love that when you go in, you can smell the zest.
You can smell that and the rosemary and. I'm a fan.
Yeah, that's really yummy. Good job.
Yay.
Let's talk to Trey. Hi, Trey.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I have to tell you, Emily has made us a delicious cocktail in your honor.
What have you got?
It is called the Woodsy Bee's Knees. I felt like that had kind of an outdoorsy theme to it.
Okay.
So it's, gin and lemon juice and some rosemary infused honey syrup. So
what are you drinking?
Nice. Well, I'm having a Paloma.
Nice.
So I love your glass too.
Got the sugar skull. That's right.
We're happy to have you on Conversations, Cocktails, and Connections.
Yes, welcome.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Trey, tell us about you. You work for Arkansas Game and Fish, and tell us what you do there.
Well, I am officially the Assistant Chief of Communications. That's my title. But really what I do more than anything else is public relations, media relations, host and produce our television show, Arkansas Wildlife, which we run 213 episode seasons per year. So 26 new episodes a year. And that keeps us pretty busy. And then, I go out and represent the agency with, radio and television and interviews and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like you're all over. I mean, Trey is a friend of mine, I will just say, to tell everybody that he's a Pine Bluff boy. So
we go way back. Your Amy's mom was like my 4-year-old kindergarten teacher, actually.
Miss Ellen.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, Miss Ellen. Or as I'm told, I called her Me Ellen.
You do? Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Well, back then when I didn't know how to speak properly.
well, Ellen listens to our podcast.
Yes, she does. So we'll have to cheers Ellen really quick.
Hello, Miss Ellen.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was looking on the Arkansas Game and Fish's website, and I was so surprised to see all of the calendar events. And I think just because for me, I've never gotten on there before, and I think a lot of people might think that if you're not a hunter or a fisher, or just outdoorsy, why would you even go on it? But I feel like there's things for women. I did see the outdoors. What is it? The Outdoor Women?
Yeah, Becoming an Outdoors Woman, the BOW program. Yeah, that's actually coming up pretty soon in October, and the program's been around for years and years, but that is, let me back up a little bit first before we talk about that specifically. So one of the big challenges for game and fish agencies across the country is that fewer people are participating in hunting and fishing. Now, that's not only part of our funding source, we sell licenses, and obviously that money goes into helping us do conservation work and that sort of stuff. But it's also important because it keeps people connected to the natural world. And if we, there's a fear maybe that if we lose a generation, who are going to be the environmental stewards moving forward. So that's a big issue across the country. So, well, I mean, there's a lot of people that look like me, stale, male, and pale, that participate in the outdoors. So, you know, we've got to, continue to serve that core audience, but, women and minorities are going to be like the growth sector for us. And so that's why you see things like Becoming an Outdoors Woman. And that program goes back many, many years, but they do a lot of events throughout the year, but every fall they do kind of their big event, where now it's modified slightly this year, obviously, with COVID-19 and the restrictions on the number of people that can all be together. But so women can sign up for various classes, everything from, bird watching or going out and collecting aquatic invertebrates. We call them bug kicks. You go out in a stream and shuffle your feet, and you use nets and then microscopes to identify the different things, all the way to, fly fishing or duck hunting or turkey hunting or deer hunting. So really there's just all kinds of stuff that's available in that particular program. So yeah, Game and Fish is doing a lot of stuff trying to appeal to, everybody, not just those, we use the term hook and bullet. That's like that core audience. But, here in Arkansas, everybody pays for conservation. Amendment 75 passed in 1996. That's the 1/8 cent conservation sales tax. And state parks gets 45% of that, 1/8 of a penny. Game and Fish gets 45%, and then the other 10% goes to natural heritage in Arkansas, Keep Arkansas Beautiful. So that's an incredible funding source, and everybody pays it, but not everybody hunts and fishes. So we do a lot of things that try to wildlife photography classes, backyard bird feeding, just everything. Yeah. It's all designed to get people connected with nature, but not everybody's going to pick up a shotgun or a rifle or a fishing pole and go out and hunt and fish.
But don't you think that I think by reading a little bit about it, I was real impressed with just knowing about the of how long ago Arkansas Game and Fish was established, and then how far from, what was it, like 1915 or something? And then from 1955 was when you could actually punish people for, I don't know how to say it, killing more than they should, or doing things that's going to hurt our environment, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So Game and Fish celebrated its centennial in 2015. We had big celebration, had a big Arkansas shaped cake that we had a big day at the state capitol, and it was in March. Maybe March 9th, but don't hold me to that. So that came out of when, Teddy Roosevelt was president, and he was an incredible conservationist, and he's why we have national parks and national forests all over the country right now. I mean, he deemed it early 20th century important to set things aside and not have them developed. And so he called state conservation leaders from all over the country to the White House, and they went back and formed these various, departments of natural resources. We call it Game and Fish here. But the problem that you had for the first 30 years of Game and Fish's existence is that the legislature was deeply involved. And, sometimes you had a situation where you might have 75 different limits on deer, depending on the 75 counties, or one legislative district wanted this. And there was politics, that were involved. And that's not to say that politics don't still play a part. I mean, let's not be naive. Yeah. But in 1945, voters passed Amendment 35 to the Arkansas Constitution, and that set up the Game and Fish Commission, much like the Department of Transportation, as an independent constitutional agency. I mean, established by amendment to the Constitution, the governor appoints a commissioner to a 7-year term every year. They can only serve one 7-year term, then they cycle off. They can't have a second term or third term. There's no voting. Now, granted, the governor appoints people that are probably active in politics and
right. They're friendlies.
Right, exactly. but you don't, the legislature oversees Game and Fish's budget, and they approve the budget every 2 years, just like they do all other state agencies. But then it's kind of hands off at that point. I mean, so our commission establishes these game laws and fish laws. And like you said, Amy, yeah, we were able to, our enforcement division, when they started in 1915, they had to supply their own horse and feed. Of course, long cars weren't that prevalent then. But now they're much more well equipped, and there's at least 2 game wardens in every county in the state. So a lot has changed since 1915, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, so tell us about your show. I love that you are so good on TV, radio, and everything. Like, you're just a natural.
Thank you.
So
my hair always looks fantastic, I think,
What?
So my hair always looks fantastic.
Oh, yes, of course. He has good hair.
And 26 episodes a year, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And thanks for the compliment. We're proud of our show. It started, George Purvis was a guy he was the chief of communications for Game and Fish back in the 50s, 60s, on up into the 70s. And he started a television show. It kind of, it's gone through different iterations over the years. Steve Wildman Wilson had it for about 20 years. It was called Talking Outdoors. And when Wildman retired, and we started sort of the last few years with him changing the way that we did the TV show. It was really more of a studio deal where somebody would come in and sit at a table with him and talk. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it was kind of more of a format like this, whereas you weren't really getting outdoors. And so we started to change that. And so we launched Arkansas Wildlife in 2016. And so this is, I think, our fall season, which starts the first weekend of October, will be, I think it's our 7th or 8th season. And you're right, Emily. It's me and 2 other guys, and that's it. We're a state agency. There's not, we don't have unlimited budgets. We're more fortunate than some, but it's 3 of us that shoot, edit, produce. I'm in front of the camera and stuff, but I still edit the segments together. I'm on location, doing the interviews, making sure the lighting's right and all that good stuff. So, but it's a labor of love. I so enjoy going out, and you get to you'll talk about connections a lot, on this podcast, and you make so many connections with so many fantastic people all over the state, and that's been the joy of my job, whether working at the Democrat-Gazette as a sports writer or outdoor writer. I worked at ESPN a couple years and traveled around the country covering outdoor issues and professional fishing. And there's just a lot of really cool people and fun people that spend time outdoors. And so that's been, over my professional career of 20 plus years now, that's been, I get to do cool stuff, fun stuff, and get paid for it. But I think really the true joy of it has been meeting, so many awesome people that, I've got great friends all over the country, in some cases internationally, that I've met through hunting and fishing and talking about it and writing about it.
Well, and when you talk to other people, though, and you may have a common interest, but when you hear their perspective on things and know, it's like you're learning something new all over again.
I think that's a great point. And, I have a dream to one day do a, more of a national or international maybe type show. I want to do like what Anthony Bourdain did for food and travel for like hunting and fishing. And don't, if you're listening, don't steal my idea, please.
Man,
we're totally stealing your idea.
Well, if you know how to work the camera and do the editing and be on, you can go do that. People are so hungry for content right now. You could probably shoot some, couple of trial episodes and go sell that.
A good friend of mine that graduated from Pine Bluff High with me, we've been kind of talking about it. We're looking at maybe putting something on YouTube. We're probably about a year out or so. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up another great point. So when I got into TV with ESPN, we were still shooting most of our stuff on a big, heavy Betacam.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't even HD. So this was like 05 and 06. And we were shooting SD when I started at Game and Fish in 2000, November of 06. But you had to have like all this really expensive and bulky equipment to produce television back then.
Yeah.
And now
you can do it with
yeah, I mean, right. I mean, exactly. I shot, speaking of that, I went out to Colorado last September and fished with my son Chase out there. And I got back, I mean, I just shot a lot of video on my cell phone, and I put together like this 6-minute film. Now, I did use like Final Cut Pro, which is really good editing software.
Yeah.
But every bit of it I shot with my phone. I mean, you're not going to blow it up on a movie screen, but for watching on a computer or something, it's just amazing what you can do these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And think about the places that if you're like under a tree or in a bush and you don't have to carry some big ass camera.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, we'll do like float trips on the Buffalo or Kings River or whatever. Yeah. And, you know, that kind of teaches you you got to minimize, you know.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of different camera setups but like a drone that we use now, I mean, it will fold down to about this big, and it will literally fit in the cargo pocket of your shorts or whatever.
That's awesome.
I mean, you pop it out and you get this great, you know, aerial view. You used to have to hire a helicopter to get that shot, you know. And
yeah, that's amazing. You know, Chuck, I mean, when he was still working for Parks and Tourism, he would always talk about the days that he would get into the helicopter, and it was a big deal that you got in the helicopter to go get the shots, and now you don't even have to have that.
Yeah, we used to, Game and Fish actually had a helicopter for a little while, and I would always love to, I mean, I loved to fly small planes, helicopters, big planes, whatever. So I would always like, yeah, I'll go on that one. But because you don't get that perspective, but you're right. Now it's like, you know, I mean, the drone we use is probably with all some, you know, backup batteries and a case to carry it in. It's less than $2,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
awesome.
I mean, it's just pretty remarkable.
Well, it just means that you can put more work into another part of it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Amy. I mean, it's true. You can devote your resources. I mean, here's the thing, and I mean, y'all know this from doing podcasts, but it's all storytelling. Whether you're writing, you know, a script for a movie or a magazine article or a newspaper article, or you're producing a television show or hosting a podcast, it's all about telling stories. I mean, so that's where I like to devote our resources, is let's tell a good story. Now, you got to have good material to start with. You got to have different shots, and the lighting's got to be good, and audio. My gosh, audio! I'm sure you know can be a pain in the ass a lot of times. I swear an airplane takes off right before we're going to take something on camera every time, or a train whistle, or somebody will fire up a lawnmower.
Oh yeah,
we do cooking segments. I'm pointing out here with my back dad. We do cooking segments for the show, and I've got a really nice green tree filled backyard, and we'll cook out there, and I swear my neighbor's dogs will not come out until we
know about that.
And then they never stop. So
yeah, we encounter that frequently. I have 3 dogs here at my house, and they're like just usually barking, running around, wanting to go in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's a nightmare. But yeah, so audio has definitely been a challenge and something we've really worked hard on.
I hope my audio sounds good. I did a little bit of research. I was going to try to get one of my actual nice microphones out, but there was like some downloads and some other software. So I hope we sound okay.
No, you actually sound good.
Great. You sound great. Yeah.
Yeah. So with COVID, how has COVID affected like fishing? I mean, what's the deal with the licensing for that?
Well, it's funny. I actually spoke to a group here in Little Rock the other day, and I talk to them every year in September. I'm like, God, I talk about the same things over and over. So I sort of came up with a new presentation from the hip, and that was like how Game and Fish has dealt with COVID. And honestly, the coronavirus pandemic has been a boom for fishing.
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet it has.
No,
I mean, out of the house.
Quantifiably, so what, March 11th in Arkansas is when we had our first case, and then Game and Fish shut down its offices, I want to say about the 17th or 18th of March. I had just gotten back from Mexico, so I was on quarantine for 2 weeks. And then 2 days into my quarantine, they closed the office down. So everybody started working remotely. But we did something, our commission, because everything was happening so fast, they decided to make fishing licenses free during spring break week, which was, the last week of March, essentially. Yeah. And a lot of people took advantage of that. I started noticing just going out to fish by myself, or every boat ramp I went to, it was just jammed up with people. Same thing with trailheads out at Pinnacle Mountain to hike the mountain, or the Kingfisher Trail around the base, or whatever. Everywhere you went, there's like everybody's going outside. Yeah. So we since know that April and May, our license sales were up 40% from the previous year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really remarkably high. Especially given these downward trends that I was talking about earlier. Yeah. And, the outdoors is where everybody went to escape. Yeah.
And we had such nice weather in the spring too.
That's right. We really did. We did have some really good weather this past spring. But, talking to some friends who are in the bait and tackle industry, or, I know Lev Bradford from Pine Bluff, Bradford Marine, they couldn't keep boats in stock. You'd go into Walmart or Academy or some of the even local bait and tackle stores, and you couldn't buy rods and reels, and the various baits were sold out.
Who would have thought that industry would be like, it's the weird little thing, the niche, that you're like, oh my gosh, the bait industry.
And I love that, because what that does is it introduces a bunch of people that may not have been doing it before. And so hopefully they'll continue to do it year after year.
That is a great point. We're working on some things now, like looking to like, how do you take advantage of that, capitalize it? How do you make it where they're not just, one and done, they did it, because they couldn't do anything else in spring of 2020. How do you get them to come back? But, and there's challenges there, but I tell you, here's another kind of interesting aspect of that. And I've always been sort of, there's this tendency in our industry to vilify technology and cell phones and video games, and kids don't go outside anymore because all they want to do is play their video games and watch their phones. And I'm not saying that there's not some truth to that, but I've always thought we should use the technology to our advantage, because that technology is not going anywhere. Right. It's here. It's not, we're not ever going to live in a world without that again. But here's what I think, and I'm not knocking team sports, but I think that's the thing that while maybe fewer kids are doing stuff outdoors, because it's all about demands for time, right? Whether that's a video game or team sports or whatever, going to concerts or shopping or whatever you like to do. There's only so many hours in a day. But I think what coronavirus taught us at Game and Fish was that even though those kids were locked, or I say people were locked up, they couldn't get outside. They could have still stayed on their phones. They could have watched their laptop. They could have watched Netflix. They could have played games, whatever, but they went outside. So I think that maybe some of these team sports might have been more of a culprit as to why people are not, I mean, and, youth sports are a little bit different than they were like when I was a kid. We had a game like once a week, and now, you travel all over the country. You're all over the region to play.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
Yeah, I think that's a big money maker, like scam, honestly. I don't have children, but I feel like it's all about like, but I think with COVID, it's made parents, because they've been home too. And so it's like, and this is before COVID. I mean, I feel like the parents, it's kind of your responsibility. Well, get your kid outside and go play, go do something away from your phone, or do something outside with your phone. And I don't know, I mean, go fishing and post all about it. I mean,
exactly.
Do all that.
I'll give you a great case in point. This is probably May, maybe late April. Autumn, my 12-year-old granddaughter went fishing with me one day, and another friend of mine out on Lake Maumelle. Probably wouldn't have been her first choice, but she didn't really have a choice, But like, I wasn't like, it was really slow. We only caught like 3 or 4 fish, but I had no problem with her being on her phone out there in the boat.
Yeah.
We're still out there breathing fresh air. She's still like, kind of seeing birds. There were loons. We saw some bald eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not much of a deer hunter because I get so bored doing it. But if I'm deer hunting, I have my phone and I'm reading.
I would never be able to be a deer hunter.
It keeps me out there a little bit longer, because otherwise I would be like, let's get down and go do something more exciting.
Oh my gosh. Well, I wish that this episode could have been like all of us out like fishing and doing it live, and maybe someday we could do that.
Well, we'll have to do it again. So
I would love to. I mean, I really want to do a fly fishing thing. I've never been able, I can cast and do all that, just regular rod and reel thing, but I've never fly fished. Have you?
Yes, I have all the gear.
I know. Do you know this? Let me tell you something about Emily. Emily will buy everything when there's a task at hand. She will get the gear. She will have everything. And then if it's not the best, like if it's not enough, then she'll have more next time.
But what's interesting with fly fishing is that Matthew wanted me to fly fish, so he actually got me all the gear. Like, I didn't even buy it myself.
I was going to ask you, Matthew's like, he's into fly fishing, right?
He's into fly fishing and camping and just in general outdoors activities. And so he drags me along every once in a while.
Where would you go fly fishing? Like, where in Arkansas? I mean, I know like the White River is great, but what's the closest place where you could have a nice experience?
Here's the thing. So you can fly fish for anything, any species, from brim and crappie to, but a lot like associate fly fishing with trout fishing. I mean, a river runs through it, right? That was like when that came out, that movie, like, it upped the game. I mean, it made fly fishing kind of the cool thing to do. I mean, in the industry,
made it sexy.
So the industry's really still, it like shot up from that. Okay. And then it's like really kind of stayed up there. That was like a godsend for the fly fishing industry. You see, I'm wearing my Orvis too, right?
Yeah. So, nice.
With product placement. But so, Amy, the answer to your question is, if you wanted to go trout fishing, which is what most people associate with fly fishing, the Little Red River would be the closest from Little Rock. But the White River, the North Fork River below Norfolk and Bull Shoals dams, respectively, those are great places. But you can take a fly rod and go out to like Foreman Lake over here in Leawood and catch brim, for that matter, or go out to the the Arkansas River, or a little farm pond somewhere and catch brim that way. I have really gotten into saltwater fly fishing and go down to Mexico every year.
Yes, so tell everybody like your guiding thing. Like, you go to Mexico to the Yucatan on a guiding trip.
Yeah, so in 2007, I'll try to, I won't make it like super long story, but we're here to talk, right? So when my kids were young, my stepmother told them she'd take them anywhere in the world. Okay, and when Morgan, my daughter, when they turned 14, that was the deal. So Morgan went to France and England, and Casey, my wife, got to go. My stepmom and my mom, and they had this whole group of ladies that went.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. So Chase, my son, when he turned 14, I'm like, let's go big, man, like Australia or somewhere in Africa. And so he did. He picked a trip to Kenya and Tanzania. Oh, so I thought, since Casey got to go with the female child, I would get to go with the male child. Well, it didn't work out that way. So while he was in Kenya and Tanzania, Casey and I started researching. So let's go somewhere on the beach. Let's go somewhere in Mexico. I wanted to kind of experiment with this saltwater fly fishing. I'd never done it. I'd fly fish for trout and stuff here in Arkansas. And so that was in 2007. We found this little town called Xcalak, Mexico. It's just north of the Belize border. It's probably 25 miles from San Pedro, Belize, on Ambergris Cay. It's about a 5 to 6 hour drive south of Cancun. It's on the Caribbean coast. So we went back several times, and I'd fish for a day and a half. I didn't want to be an a-hole and like leave my wife all, the whole trip. And so the last 3 years I've gone with a group of guys, and I've kind of organized the trip and gotten different friends to go. And it's just hardcore fishing. I mean, we fished all day for like 5 or 6 days. There's, probably about 4 travel days involved, and it's not really easy to get there. It's incredibly remote though. I mean, it is like a tropical paradise. It's just absolutely beautiful. Wow. And I have fallen in love with the place. I mean, it's kind of like, Key West is a bigger town, but it's like that. It's at the end of the road. You can't go any further. The dead ends here. There's no paved roads in town. Once the highway pavement ends, it's all sand and crushed limestone. Wow. About 375 people live there. Wow. So it is right up my alley. I mean, I'm a weird introvert extrovert blend, and I could get down with being there a lot more. Mm-hmm. And depending on the outcome of the election in November, I may spend a lot more time there.
If they'll let you come.
Yeah. You may not be allowed back.
I know all the travel restrictions for Americans with COVID. It's just been.
Yeah. Here's a weird, that's where I was when everything went crazy. Yeah. We left out of Little Rock on March 6th, and another friend from Pine Bluff that Amy knows, who lives in Park City, Utah, met us there. And, we had heard about coronavirus, and, there was those cases in Washington, but it was really kind of,
think about it.
Yeah. It wasn't that big of a deal. And, so Autumn, my oldest granddaughter, is really big into competitive swimming, and she was participating in the state swim meet. And like I said, it's really remote. We have satellite internet there, so it's kind of sketchy. And I was like trying to be around satellite internet when I could to like watch some of her races. They had like a live stream of it. So we went from that on Saturday and Sunday so Sunday night we got back from dinner. There's one really nice restaurant in town that this Canadian couple, Linda and Marla, opened about 12, 13 years ago, but it's like it would have a Michelin star if it was in a place where they gave Michelin stars. It is really great. But we got in, and Michael, our friend that works in like global finance, is like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fish tomorrow, because the price of oil just plummeted like 65% when the Asian markets opened. So he stayed in the next day to like kind of calm some of investors' fears and stuff like that. So then on that Monday, the stock market took at that time, the biggest drop in history.
Yeah.
Wednesday, I talked to Casey back here. She's like, we had a positive in Arkansas, and you can't buy toilet paper now.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it was.
Next day, Thursday, schools closed. And then by the time we got back to Tulum on Friday, it was kind of break up the trip to fly to Cancun on Saturday, national emergency had been declared, and we're like, are we going to be able to get back in the country? Yeah. So it was really kind of surreal and bizarre to sort of be so removed and in a really remote and isolated location like that, and having a great time while
everything's
while the world's literally catching on fire right now.
Yeah. And then it just continues to like snowball, right? Like it gets more and more surreal as the months and days pass.
Oh my God. Don't get me started on that. So are you going to do, so I guess right now you can't do this guiding. Are you planning to do that in the future again to get?
Yeah, I mean, I've already booked the hotel for the first week of April next year. We'll see what happens. Mexico has relaxed their restrictions on entry to foreign visitors. Tourism is such a huge industry down there, and you know, it's kind of like the restaurant industry, you know, here in the States. I mean, it's just been, you know, they've been getting their butts kicked. So yeah, I mean, we're full steam ahead planning the trip for next year.
I want to go.
We'll probably have a backup plan just in case, you know. You know, I'm feeling pretty good. And don't get me wrong, I am not like this optimistic, hopeful person most of the time. I mean, I'm a realist about things, but I think we're going to be okay. I mean, I think, it's awful.
You have to have that to look forward to too. So even if like, just don't even go there in your mind, like just like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, in worst case scenario, we may do like some kind of trip in the States. But the group of guys we got together last year was just like, it was like, you know how like when you get certain people together, the chemistry is just really good. And you know, I foresee, you know, fishing with this group of guys, you know, at some place, somewhere every year for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you catch there?
Well, bonefish, permit, and tarpon are kind of those are the big three. There's another species, snook, that you'll run across every now and then, but bonefish are really common. You see them a lot. Permit is probably the most elusive fish to catch on a fly rod. They say guys that fly fish for permit can tell you exactly how many they've caught because it's such a rare occurrence.
Wow.
I actually caught my first one on the trip in March. And it was March 10th. It was Michael D. Jarnett's birthday.
Oh, nice.
That's why I remember. I mean, it was, and I'll never forget because it's such a rare feat to catch one of these fish. They're
so when you catch them, you don't. Are there seasons for it, or can you keep them and?
It's all catch and release what we do down there. Now you can go catch like some snapper, mangrove snapper, mutton snapper for you know, if you want to keep a few to make fish tacos or something. But the bonefish, permit, tarpon, that's all catch and release. It's just, you know, it's kind of like it's a renewable resource, and and I want to be careful saying this because like catch and release has like been too successful in some cases, like with largemouth bass fishing, and here in the States, that's all anybody does is release them. From a fisheries management standpoint, it probably wouldn't hurt for people to keep a few, like some of the smaller fish.
Yeah.
I don't want to get like all nerdy and biological and stuff, but what happens is a body of water can have a whole lot of little fish or nice like graduations of age classes, like this many little fish, this many medium, this many big, you know, and so a lot of times you'll end up with overpopulations of a lot of little fish.
Oh yeah.
And you need to take some of those out. So anyway, don't get me wrong, catch and release, good, not the panacea for all situations though. So, but yeah, it's all catch and release on the bonefish and permit and tarpon.
Well, I'm going to jump really quick to, I want to hear about your your work with 103.7, The Buzz, and your radio show about the great outdoors. So
all right, I'm making another Paloma. I do that while I talk. These things are like, I started drinking them in Mexico because we wanted something a little bit different, and tequila's so cheap down there, and it has become my pandemic drink of choice.
It's a good one.
On stock in Hornitos. Yeah, so I love radio. I love podcasts. That's why I told you I was so excited to be a part of this. Writing's always my first love, but I sort of got into TV like by accident. I mean, it wasn't like something that, was some sort of objective or goal that I had. It just kind of fell in my lap. And but I'd worked in radio some back in Pine Bluff when I was 19, 20 years old. I was like an overnight DJ on KCLA, the country AM station down there. So I've always enjoyed radio. I think radio is really one of my favorite mediums in podcasts, to by extension. But I think, you've still got to do prep work, but there's not like as many considerations that go into it. Like when you're doing TV, you've got to have the lighting just right. You got to make sure the motion in the frame is right and the composition's just right. And then all the audio's got to be right. And again, it's all storytelling. Anyway, so several years ago, I had this idea. I wanted to do a radio show on the Buzz about the outdoors. And I right about the time I was going to do it, I found out that Ray Tucker had started an outdoor show on Wednesday nights on the Buzz. And I was like, dang, it's all my idea, right? So, lime squeezer. One of his co-hosts was a guy named Mark Hedrick, who I met shortly after moving to Little Rock in 2001. And I told Mark, I was like, man, I've always wanted to do that. And about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, Ray and Mark parted ways and Mark was not on Ray's show anymore. And Mark reached out to me and said, you still want to do a radio show? And I said, yeah, I would like to do that. So we started in June of 19. We're on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. It's called The Wild Side.
I love it.
Nice.
It's just another,
I love it.
It's just fun. I mean,
outlet.
It's like a passion project for me. I mean, I make a few bucks off of it, but it's like, I'm not going to quit my day job or anything. But I really, really love radio. I mean, awesome. It's a lot of fun.
If you go to the website of 103.7, it's like at the top, it's like all men.
Yeah,
it's definitely a male targeted station.
It is. I think
it's got a very, very specific, it's got a very defined target audience.
We need to go on 103.7.
No, they want a very certain type of female on 103.7, and we are not it.
Oh, we could.
Well, I would love for y'all to listen to my radio show.
Yes.
We can, we'll go, maybe we could go fishing one of these days.
I would love that.
For this podcast, and then we could come on my radio show and talk about it too.
That would be, sign us up. We're definitely in for that.
Let us know when on a weekend we will do that. I want to fly fish so badly, like really bad.
So we've just got to make that happen, Amy.
Okay.
I mean, it's
listen,
fun.
You tell us a date.
All right. Well, so
I'm not kidding.
Emily's got gear, and I've got some gear that I'm happy to loan. I've got buddies in the industry that can help us out. So here's something I want to throw out there. I want to demystify fly fishing. I mean, because there's this mindset. You see, and it is beautiful, okay? I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. You think of, beautiful Brad Pitt and making his river run through it. And I mean, it is really, there's an artistry to it. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I think there's something to be I've only done this one time fishing with waders on, and I will say it was the coolest thing ever is to just be out in the water and you're just like, I'm in their environment. You know what I mean? I'm like, come to me.
Yeah.
It was the coolest thing.
Well, and I think that's, I'm going to follow up on this fly fishing thing and then say something to your point. So fly fishing is just another way of doing it. And there's an artist up in Mountain Home, Dwayne Hayda, who has Rivertown Gallery up there. He's a great natural artist, natural world, paints a lot of fishing and hunting scenes, wildlife. But he told me one time, like, I said, well, why fly fishing? And he said, he used the word intimate. It's just a little bit more intimate way of doing it. It's kind of like hunting for a deer with a bow and arrow as opposed to a rifle. You've got to be 25, 30 yards from that animal. You got to be close to it. You've kind of got to know its habits and things like that. And I think that's what attracts me and so many other people to fly fishing is there's more of an intimacy to the connection. You feel it a lot more, okay? I mean, like literally, I mean, you can feel that. I mean, basically when you're fishing with conventional tackle, I mean, you've got like a winch, that you're cranking there. I mean, and it's fun, it's exciting, it's thrilling. And I'm not like some kind of elitist, snobby fly fisherman or anything, because I still fish with, I'll fish with a cane pole sometimes still. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. But I do enjoy fly fishing. But that you talking about being in the element with the fish, like when you put those waders on, and I think that's kind of gets to the essence of fishing and even hunting and even just people that like to go out in nature and take binoculars and look at birds and go for a hike. It is a strong connection, and that's that connection of being, when you're fly fishing and you're in the water and then the fish takes it and I don't know. It's kind of, I don't want to like get all philosophical and stuff, but it's pretty special. And that's awesome. That's what attracts me to it, at least.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to just go into something really quick before we end, because I want to mainly point out that you are part of a duo of world champion cheese dip team, the ConcheeZtadors. And that is huge.
It's a big deal.
Well, first of all, I have been linked to the team, but I am very close to them. I can't confirm or deny if I might be one of those masked men that makes the cheese dip. But the ConcheeZtadors has been a lot of fun over the years. It's so, again, we were talking about, connections and how you get into different things. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Williams, who's the editor of Arkansas Wildlife Magazine and a colleague at Game and Fish, our offices were side by side years ago. They're not anymore, but he came in one day and he said, they're starting this thing called the World Cheese Dip Championship. You and Casey want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, cheese dip, like literally the first thing I learned how to make as a kid. I mean, like when I was staying home as a 12, 13-year-old in the summertime, like, we make cheese dip, Gosh, it's Arkansas's classic food. And so I was all about that. And we entered the first year. It was at Dickey Stevens Park. Little known ConcheeZtadors trivia. We've won multiple world championships over the years, but we didn't win for the cheese dip that first year. But we won for best chip. They had a chip category.
They did.
And we made homemade. Took masa, made corn tortillas, and deep fried them. And
I feel like I went to that first year, and didn't they like run out of chips everywhere?
I went the first year too, and it was kind of chaotic.
Yeah,
but
we
were probably there together.
Probably. Good God, you say cheese, and I'm like, yes.
You know, the other thing I'd point out about that, we've had a lot of fun with it. One of these days, maybe that'll be a business venture. I want to start making this stuff.
Yeah.
But that whole event is a benefit for Harmony Health Clinic, which is over on Roosevelt Road, and they provide healthcare, dental, optometry services for customers, clients that can't afford it any other way. And so they do really important work, and the Cheese Dip Festival or contest is one of their big fundraisers. They do 2 big ones every year. So, I mean, I'm proud probably as much of, we've won, taste is
we won. We're the winners, whatever.
But look. Taste is totally subjective, right? I mean, I think we make a good cheese dip. We've won People's Choice. We've won the blind judging numerous times over the years, so I feel like there's some consistency. But probably more than anything else, we've helped Harmony raise hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, and not patting ourselves on the back, but it feels good to be a part of something like that, and so that's been a lot of fun. October 3rd this year is when it happens. So.
Fingers crossed. Is it definitely going to happen?
Is what?
The cheese dip. They say they were. I saw something this past week on social media that they were going to do it, and I don't know.
I mean, that's a few weeks away.
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my gosh!
I'll believe it when I see it.
Like you want it to happen so that organization can get money, but then you're like, oh, what cost?
You also see all their cases go up.
Yes.
Here, I was thinking about it though. Okay, we all when we're serving, we're wearing gloves.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to throw a mask on now. I mean, you're outside, and so crowd control would be the big thing. I mean, if you were able to do it in a way like maybe let people in phases, and family groups or groups that travel together, stay together, maybe there's a way to do it.
I'm sure they'll figure it out. I mean, I know everybody's anxious to get back to some semblance of normalcy, so they'll try to figure something out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so. I mean, that's what I love about October is just the fun little festivals that happen.
And it's your birthday month.
Well,
one last word about Cheese Dip. So we've been interviewed over the years by different publications, and I think Cheese Dip, the reason it's so popular here in Arkansas, it's kind of like it's a very communal thing. I mean, we all gather around a bowl, so it brings people together. That's another irony of trying to have this thing in COVID, because it's like, but that's the beauty of Cheese Dip, is that it's comfort food, it's warm, it's gooey and creamy, and it just makes you feel good.
And now I know what I'm having for dinner.
I know. Listen, I don't know if you felt this way, but I mean, if there's ever a snow day or anything, like I always will make Cheese Dip. Like it's my go-to comfort snow day. Brownies, Cheese Dip. It's just what we did when we were kids, and I'll still buy it and make the same thing.
No, absolutely. I think there's I don't. Velveeta was I don't know, about a year or so ago, I noticed they had like an end cap or something in the grocery store, and they had these signs up that said, "Be the classic queso family," or something like that. I mean, so I think they were kind of playing on what you're talking about. Their marketing,
totally.
They had tapped into that somehow.
Oh, for sure. Okay, I want you to let everyone know your Instagram handle. Mm-hmm. And how to find you, how to see your shows and all that.
Okay. So Instagram is at the numeral 3 REID. And the television show, Arkansas Wildlife, which is the Game and Fish official TV show, it airs on KARK, Channel 4, 11 o'clock Sunday nights. In the fall, it'll be a little bit later than that because of Sunday night football pushing the news back, which pushes the show back. It also airs at 9 a.m. Sundays on KARZ, Z42. And you can always see segments and past episodes on the Arkansas Wildlife YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and search for Arkansas Wildlife TV, and it'll take you right to it. And The Wild Side on 103.7 The Buzz, Tuesday nights, 7 to 8 p.m. with me and Mark Hedrick. And we always have a lot of fun.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to the fishing thing. We're gonna get it together.
So I mean, you cut my hair every 5 to 6 weeks, and I've never known that you were
planning it.
So like dialed in to wanting to become a fly fisher person.
No, we're planning it.
I can almost guarantee Matthew Dean will try to butt his way into that the trip.
Well, you know, I haven't seen Matthew lately, but he is. I mean, you did well.
I know.
He's good people. I'm joking. He is good people, and I enjoy.
He
his
is good
company.
people.
So I would love for him to join us.
I know. And I'll invite my husband too.
I am a terrible teacher with no patience. So maybe Matthew's better than I am.
Well, thank you so much, Trey. I'm very happy to have you on.
This was great. This was such a good conversation.
Well, thanks. I enjoyed being here, and maybe we could do it again sometime down the road. But we got to make a fishing trip happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at a drink.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.